Well, hi boys and girls, it's good to be with you again. And Alfie and I are here with another story. Yeah, you're looking forward to this story, are you? Good, I'm so glad. Anyway, Alfie, have you had a good week? You've had an exciting week? Oh, I'm so glad. What have you been doing? You went down to see, went into the Mumbles. Oh, it's great down there, isn't it? Yeah, and what do you do down there? You saw the lifeboat going out? Oh, it wasn't a storm? No. You think they were just practicing? Yeah, but the lifeboat's great, isn't it? Isn't it wonderful that these men and women, they're so ready to go out and sometimes risk their lives to help other people, and they do some amazing things. I know they've saved a lot of people over the years, and sometimes they've gone out when the weather's really bad just to help others. You wouldn't like to do that job? No, it can be quite scary, couldn't it? Imagine being out on that boat in a wild storm, being tossed around. It must be really frightening. You don't like being on the sea when it's rough? No, you don't like the sea very much at all, do you? No. But actually, Alfie, we've got a story today about a boat out on the sea. No, it's not the one where Jesus stopped the storm. And no, it's not the one of Jesus walking on the water either. You're good on your Bible stories. Yeah, no, this is one that's completely different. It wasn't on the Sea of Galilee, which is the one where Jesus lived by, but it was on the Mediterranean Sea. Do you know where the Mediterranean is? No, it's nowhere near Mumbles. Do you know where Italy is? Yeah, well, Italy is in the Mediterranean Sea. And our story today is about a man who was going to be sailing to Italy. His name was Paul, and he was one of God's messengers. He went around telling people all about Jesus. But some people didn't like him, and he got arrested and accused of things that he hadn't done. And to cut a long story short, he was going to Rome to appear before the emperor, before Caesar, to explain what he'd been doing. He was a prisoner, and they put him on a Roman ship, and they were going to sail right across the Mediterranean Sea to Rome, to Italy. So off they went. And to start off with, it was a bit like today. There was no wind and the sea was lovely and calm, and it was good sailing weather. And they sailed right across the sea, and they came to a place called Cyprus. Do you know where Cyprus is? You've heard of Cyprus, that's good. Well, they got to Cyprus, and it was getting late in the year, and they didn't usually sail in the winter. And that night God spoke to Paul and said, Paul, there's danger ahead. There's a storm coming. And Paul believed God. He trusted God. So he went to the owner of the ship and he said, listen, you shouldn't sail. You should stay here for the winter, because there are storms coming. There's danger. But, well, the owner of the ship wanted to get on. So he said, no, we're going to press on. We're going to keep going. Well, they left Cyprus, and as they sailed out again into the Mediterranean, suddenly the wind changed and it turned into a terrific storm, and the boat was being tossed about like a cork. Everybody was scared. And you know, the storm went on not for one day, not for 2 days, but for 2 whole weeks. And by the end of it, everybody was worn out. They were tired, they were scared, and they all thought, we're not going to get through this. We're all going to be drowned. But in the middle of it all, suddenly Paul stood up amongst them, and he said, you should have listened to me. But don't worry, because God spoke to me again last night. He appeared to me in a dream, and he said, Paul, the ship is going to sink, but nobody will be drowned. You're all going to be saved. And Paul said an amazing thing. He said, don't worry, because I believe God. We're all going to be all right. Well, They carried on through the storm, and it didn't seem to be getting any less. But then up ahead, they could see land. And they thought, if we can make it to land, we'll be okay. So they hoisted the sail, they let go of the anchors, and they let the wind blow them towards the land. But as it got near, suddenly the ship ran aground on a sandbank, and it was stuck fast. And the waves started pounding the ship, and it started to break up. The man who is in charge, he says, everybody into the water, save yourself. And they all jumped into the water and swam for shore. Some of them were clinging to bits of wood because they couldn't swim. And as they looked back, the ship just broke into pieces and sank beneath the water. But when they looked around, everybody was safe. Not a single person had been drowned. And Paul was right. Paul, do you remember what Paul said? I believe God. Paul knew who he could trust, even in scary situations. And Paul knew that God was there for him. Do you know, Alfie, sometimes we're in scary situations. Sometimes we can be really scared. But it's good to know that Jesus is there with us all the time, isn't it? Yeah. And we can talk to him, that's right. And we can trust him because he's always promised to be there. Well, Paul went on to have other adventures after that. But I think that one must have been one of the worst. Anyway, boys and girls, hope you enjoyed today's story. And see you again soon. Have a good week. Bye for now.